In her final story, Clara Waring looks at the role of public-supported forums for the expression of diverse images and ideas about life.
It seems to me that some effort needs to be made to enhance the interaction of people and have them discuss their similarities and their differences in terms of their art, in terms of their literature, in terms of what they hold dear to their own personal cultures.
As Congress wrestles with the huge national debt, federal funding for the arts, the humanities, and public broadcasting has come under attack. The National Endowments for the Arts and the Humanities and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting all receive public funds which help finance a variety of cultural programs. This money also helps fund local public radio and television stations and state organizations like the Kansas Humanities Council and the Kansas Arts Commission.
It seems to me to be every bit as important as providing for physical sustenance that we need to provide for our intellectual movement and our social movement at the same time. So I guess I just don't understand why there is such a fear, particularly in as much as because it's public funding, one can avoid the kind of influences that might arise from private funding that would have its own agenda.
We're non-commercial radio. We have the opportunity to present ideas and views in depth. We give varying perspectives on information and news. We give angles that you won't find anywhere else. We even approach subjects that you probably won't hear talked about anywhere else.
In November of 1995, Delano Lewis, President and CEO of National Public Radio, addressed an audience at the University of Kansas.
We believe strongly that there was a role for the federal government in public broadcasting. We believe that when the act was passed in 1967 by Lyndon Johnson that there should be a non-commercial public broadcasting network, it had value then and it had value today. However, there were
I think public has grown very much accustomed, especially to the arts and public TV, public radio, and generally speaking, likes having what these programs have wrought. They like a dance troupe that comes through. They like the fact that an artist gets $1,000 stipend to help design a poster, things of that nature.
If you know nothing about the Kansas Arts Commission and you live in a community, even a small community, the Kansas Arts Commission probably has helped to support an event in your library, after-school event for children, or an evening event for adults, for the general community. It could be a poetry reading. It could be about a new piece of literature. We also support museums, theaters. We support folk artists. We really have an emphasis on access to the rural communities.
I think you'd probably be surprised at the number of people in Kansas that have attended a program that's been sponsored by the Kansas Humanities Council. They would be, for instance, speakers that go out to service clubs throughout the state, and certainly in every county and almost in every town and city over the 20-year lifespan of the Humanities Council.
The funding cuts could affect programs like this Chautauqua, sponsored by the Kansas Humanities Council, and the locally produced public television series you're watching right now. The actual impact such cultural programs have on our federal budget is relatively insignificant, but something else is at stake.
If you look at, for example, the National Endowment for the Humanities, for the Arts, and public broadcasting tossed together, it would buy approximately half a stealth bomber, maybe not even that much. So you're not talking about much absolute money. I think rather you're talking about the principle of having any governmental money going for something that some people see as non-essential, the arts.
Should activities such as the humanities, quality of life kinds of issues that are more intellectually, and I mean that in a broad sense, not necessarily a scholarly sense, that are intellectually based, should they be funded by the federal government?
The development of art and the support of art and culture is part of my family value system. I cannot envision raising my family without having an enriched life, without having access to a good range of not just reading materials and books in libraries, but having access to my child's school, to art programming, to music education. My view is that there is a legitimate and necessary role for government to support the development of culture and tradition in a society, anywhere.
Not everyone agrees. Some feel that the government should provide as few services as possible, that culture belongs in the private sector. Others disapprove of public money being used for programs they find objectionable.
The opposition comes frequently from these individual projects, and then the stereotype, I think, of, well, these educators are simply giving out money for obscure programs, or elitist kinds of considerations, or, at the worst, pornography, experimental theater that is offensive.
I think that most of the opposition has their own agenda. I think what they would like to be presented as being art, or what they would like to present as being the humanities, and don't like anything that steps outside of those boundaries. If they can't control it as Congress, then they don't want to fund it.
If you want free speech, the cost of that may well be doing without federal state subsidies. If you want to come up with a strange, radical program, no one's preventing you from doing that, but the government has no requirement to fund you.
The argument that many in Congress make is not that they shouldn't be funded, but they simply shouldn't be funded by tax monies. They should be funded by private funds. There's two problems to that. One is simply a matter of time frame, and to expect that you can shift from public funding to private funding in a very short period of 1 or 2 or 3 years is completely unrealistic. It simply can't be done. Secondly, that kind of avoids the question, if it's for the public, why shouldn't it be funded by the public?
It would be nice to take art, culture, broadcasting out of politics. Probably pretty unlikely that it's going to happen. But it's clearly within the realm of possibility that all of these public functions would be eliminated at some time in the not too distant future.
Glad you could stop by to see a clip from Sunflower Journeys. There are more great local stories out there waiting to be discovered, but it takes help from viewers like you and me to make it happen. Visit ktwu.org right now to make a pledge.